you go, my toes are getting cold. It's warm in the air,
Yeah, but not on
but
the
on this
floor.
concrete floor, yeah, my toes look cold, so. But Isaiah the 58th chapter, when you have it, say amen.
Amen.
Isaiah 58, get at the first verse. Get it? Okay. Get it? Okay. It says, cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgressions, and the house of Jacob their sins. Now, because we turn to the book of Isaiah, that should let everybody know who's speaking, who's the writer of this book. Isaiah is one of the prophets of God to Israel. Israel was God's chosen people, and God had, we call some major prophets and some we call minor prophets, only because some prophets spoke more than others. And Isaiah, if you look, Isaiah got about 60 some books in his prophecies. He got 66 books. And then there's other prophets that didn't prophesy as much, didn't have as much writings as others. Isaiah was one of those major prophets. And God is speaking to Isaiah, and he's telling Isaiah, he says, cry aloud and spare not me. Don't let nobody get away. In other words, prophesy or preach in such a way and make sure that everybody hear you. Make sure everybody hear you. He says, lift up your voice like a trumpet, and this is what I want you to do. Show my people their transgressions, and the house of Jacob their sins. So God is telling Isaiah, he says, let the people see where they're going wrong. Most of the time, if y'all anything like me, where I used to be, and there's still some flaws that God is working out of me, He's still perfecting me. But for the most part, if you're human, people don't like other people telling them when they're wrong. That's just something we don't like. We would like to recognize our own wrong rather than somebody else to recognize you wrong and tell you when you're wrong. So you can imagine, and y'all know that's the truth. We all know that's the truth. We don't like people telling us when we're wrong. I don't mind finding out that I'm wrong and identifying my wrong. I just don't want you to figure it out and find out before I do. Because it's a feeling that we get when somebody else tells us when we're wrong. That feeling makes us feel as if that person thinks that they're better than me. For you to tell me I'm wrong as if you're not wrong, or as if you don't do any wrong. And that's not the truth. That's not reality, but that's how someone telling us when we're wrong, that's how it makes us feel. Like, wait a minute, no, you ain't trying to tell me when I'm wrong, when all the wrong I see you doing, right? But God is telling Isaiah, he's giving him a hard task here. He's saying, go out and tell everybody they're wrong. Let everybody know where their wrong is. Cry aloud, spare not, lift up your voice like a trumpet. Show my people their transgression and the house of Jacob their sins. The second verse says, yet they seek me daily and delight to know my ways, as a nation that did righteous and forsook not the ordinance of their God. They ask of me the ordinances of justice. They take delight in approaching to God. Now look, notice what he's saying here. He's saying, these are some people that really wrong, but they carry themselves like they're right. They act like they're wrong, but they act like they're so right. Because look what he said, second verse. Yet they seek me daily. Every day they get up praying. Can y'all see the contradiction? He's saying, tell these people they messed up. Tell them they wrong. But they get up every morning praying, seeking me daily, and they act like they really want to know my ways. They really want to know what right is. Because look what he says. Yet they seek me daily and delight to know my ways as a nation that did righteous. They acted like they do right. Have y'all ever known anybody like that? They wrong as two left shoes, but they acting like they got it all together. They just act like they got it all together. But it's like, you look at them like, can't you see you got your shoes on the wrong foot? Next thing you know, so what? It's my feet, it's my shoes. It's like, I'm just trying to help you. Some people don't want help. Amen.
Amen.
Yet they seek me daily and delight to know my ways, as a nation that did righteousness and forsook not the ordinance of their God. In other words, he said they're acting like they have not forsook the ordinance of God. They're acting like they have not disobeyed God. Here's a nation, he said in Isaiah, go talk to these people. Because they all messed up, but they're acting like they do everything I tell them to do. They ask of me the ordinances of justice. They're asking me to tell them what right is. They're saying, okay, God, tell us what right is. And sometimes you wonder if people really want the truth. It's like, all right, help me. Like, do you really want help? He says, they ask of me the ordinance of justice. They take delight in approaching to God, meaning they think they're really doing something because they come to church. That they take delight. They're happy that I go to church every Sunday. Approaching God. They come to God and they're happy about that. Third verse. Wherefore have we fasted, say they. We've been fasting. And thou seest not. He says, why is it you fasting, but you still can't see where you messed up? Wherefore have we afflicted our souls? In other words, we've made sacrifice. I be suffering. I be going through. I be sitting in the church, my feet cold. There ain't no heat. Got furnace, little gas heaters in the middle of the floor. Making sacrifices. He says, we have afflicted our soul, and thou takest no knowledge. He said, but you still ain't learning nothing. You still ain't growing. You still ain't maturing. And thou takest no knowledge. Behold, in the day of your fast, ye find pleasure and exact all your labors. He says, behold, in the day of your fast. He said, you're fasting, but this is what you're doing. He said, you're just having fun. You find the stuff to have fun to do, finding pleasure. You fasting, but then while you fasting, y'all want to play some spades? Wait a minute, I thought you was fasting. Y'all want to go to the movie? Wait a minute, I thought you was fasting. He says you fast, on the day you fasted, you find pleasure and you exact all of your labors, and meaning you stop working. I ain't doing nothing because I'm fasting. You don't do nothing. Can't do nothing because I'm fasting. Behold, here's why their fasting is not getting them anywhere. He says, behold, ye fast for strife. You fasted for strife. What that mean? You fasting trying to get back at folk. You ever seen, I know them old folks, my grandmother used to do that. When she want to get somebody, she's like, that's right, I'm fasting and praying. God gonna get you. They fasting and praying that something happened to other folks. He said, you fasting for strife. When you striving, you're pulling against somebody. We're striving, it's like tug of war. You're striving. I'm pulling this way, you pulling that way. And so I'm fasting that I win this fight. That's what he said. You fast for strife and what else? Debate. For debate. You fasting to argue. You fasting to make sure that you win the argument. And to smite with the fist of wickedness. You fasting so that you can hurt people. The fist of wickedness. Look at why they see they think because they was fasting, they doing right. I be fasting. But look how you fasting. You fasting, he says, to smite with the fist of wickedness. Ye shall not fast as you do this day to make your voice to be heard on high. He said, you don't fast to make sure everybody hear what I say. Folk pay attention to me. I'm fasting, folk pay attention to me. I got something to say. Y'all won't listen? Now, 5th verse. Y'all ready? He says, God says, is it such a fast that I have chosen? This is why I don't fast every first of the year. I have to wait until God chooses a fast, until God say, now I want you to fast. Because if God don't give me a fast, and I just choose to say, I'm just going to fast, I might be fasting for the wrong reason.
Man.
But he says, is not this such a fast that I have chosen, a day for a man to afflict his soul? Is it to bow down his head as a bulrush, and to spread sackcloth and ashes under him? Wilt thou call this a fast and an acceptable day of the Lord? He's saying, is this a fast that I've called? That's what God is. It was a question. Is this the kind of fast that I've called? Let's look at the 5th verse again. Is this such a fast that I have chosen, a day for a man to afflict his soul? Is it to bow down your head as a bulrush? In other words, walking around looking all sad on fast. And to spread sackcloth and ashes. That was a way of mourning back then. When someone died, they would put on some old clothes, and then they put dust all on their heads as a signal of mourning. He says, will thou call this a fast? He said, is that what y'all call a fast? And an acceptable day of the Lord? You think God accepted that? Look at the 6th verse. Is not this the fast that I have chosen to do what? To loose the bands of the wicked. God said, this the fast. When I call a fast, this is what I'm calling a fast for.
Man.
To loose the bands of the wicked. In other words, there's wicked people that have control over us. Wicked people that have control over how or over the quality of life that we're supposed to have. The laws of our land are devised by wicked people. Our president and our Congress just passed one of the most stupidest bills that I've ever seen in the history of America. They just cut over $1 trillion worth of taxes for the top 1% of America. The richest people on the face of the planet, they just turned around and said, we're going to cut y'all taxes. Y'all don't have to pay no more tax. Well, not no more, but they didn't significantly drop the taxes for the richest people in the world. Now, you have to understand what that means, because the only way they can fix roads and bridges and do anything, pay them in military, all in federal workers, they're all paid by tax money. So if you cut taxes, where are you going to get the money to do the things that you need to do as a federal government? So now you got to find a way to get some money. Where are you going to get it from? If you ain't getting it from rich people, where are you going to get it from? You going to get it from the poor people. So we're the ones they're targeting next. So now they have to find ways to cut money from the poor people. Our sister was talking about a lot of our welfare systems and social programs that's set up to help poor people. And what they're saying is, why y'all giving all them poor people all that money? So now they want to attack Medicaid, Medicare, and our welfare programs, and all of our social programs. They want to cut those to make up for the money they just gave to these rich people. God say, now is this the fast that I've called to loose that stupid stuff?
Amen.
That's some stupid stuff.
Amen.
That's wicked. That is just plumb wicked. It's a reverse Robin Hood. Robbing the poor to give to the rich. You're gonna rob the poor people that ain't got that much. We ain't got that much. But you're gonna take the little that we have and give it to the rich. And then the mentality or the philosophy is it'll trickle down. They're going to turn around and give it back to us. No, they're going to buy a bigger yacht. That's what they're going to do. They're going to buy another one, a bigger boat, and another house. What they going to, if they was going to give it to us, all they have to do is approve the fact that it's already been given to us. We already got it. Why take it from us, give it to them so they can give it back to us? That don't even make sense. Trickle down economics. That just don't even make sense. But that's the philosophy that we're dealing with. That's a wicked mentality. And God says, is this the fast that I have chosen? To loose the bands of wickedness. Amen. To undo the what?
Heavy burden.
That's a heavy burden for poor people to have to carry. We got to take care of the rich folk. Poor people got to support the rich. That's a heavy burden. Our sister come from Africa, and she come here thinking everybody over here rich. Everybody was like, if I could just make it to America. I could make it to America. Then came over here to America, found out they wicked over here too. Just as bad over here it is over there. And God said, but this is why I want y'all to fast, to change this corrupt system, this corrupt world that we're living in. He says, to undo the heavy burden. And to what?
Let the oppressed go free.
Y'all reading this? 6th verse. Are y'all reading this?
Amen.
Is not this the fast that I have chosen to what?
Loose the bands of
Loose the bands of the wickedness.
Undo
Undo the heavy burden. So we got to undo this stuff they just did. We got to fast that the Democrats get in there and undo it. Because think about it, if we don't undo it, if they don't undo it, we in bad shape. America's in bad shape. When they start they already repealed the Obamacare mandate. They repealed that. So 13 million people are not going to have health insurance now. We got to undo that. God has said that we got to undo that. We got to fast and seek God. Say, God, change that. Change that. Undo the heavy burdens and to let the oppressed go free. They are oppressing poor people. They're oppressing us. We're being oppressed. The lower class is being oppressed. And that ye what?
Break every yoke.
Break every yoke. We're fasting at the yokes. Y'all know what yokes are? Yokes are what you put on animals to control them. You usually put a yoke, or what we may common name would be a leash. You put a leash on the dog, you can control the dog, and you snatch it back. Oh, come back here. Put a yoke on the horse. Say, giddy up. When you want them to stop, you pull that leash, pull that yoke. Put yoke on oxen, they would plow the fields, and you put that yoke around them, and you can control them. He says, fast and pray that those yokes be broken. The poor, the poor are being controlled with yokes. And these people killing themselves. Well, a lot of the evils that poor people do is a result of no jobs, no money, no insurance, no health care, no opportunities. They're hopeless. They're living in a hopeless situation. Can you imagine living in a project when ain't nobody got no jobs? Because ain't no jobs out there. Nobody, go get a job. Well, there ain't none. If I do, when I get on that job, they're going to ride me like a mule. They squeeze every little thing and then give me 2 dimes. And then say, I gave you 20 cents, pay your rent, your utilities, your cell phone, get some insurance, get some clothes, get your kids some school. He's like, what, the 20 cents? Yeah. Yeah. And they already know. Y'all know where the term project came from? We call them projects. Project come from a term that the government used because it was a experiment. They called it a project. They wanted to know what would happen if we put all these people in one particular area and we do X, Y, and Z. Let's watch and see what they're going to do. They already know what you're going to do. They know if you put a bunch of poor people together, they already know what they're going to do. And they took a bunch of mice and they put them in a restrained area and they observed the mice and the mice just crawling all over. They just eating each other up. Because that confined area, they already know. And so they look at the mice and say, but humans are intellectual. They shouldn't respond the way these savage beasts should respond. And they call it a project. Let's call this Project X and see how they're going to react, how they're going to respond. And they put them all in one area. Call it a ghetto. Put them all in one area and watch them observe. And they did the same thing as the mice. They just start killing each other and harming each other and raping each other and murdering each other and stealing from each other and robbing from each other. It's called the rat race. Because everybody in there trying to survive. Yes. Everybody trying to survive. And there are no resources to survive off of, so you survive off of each other. Does this make a little sense?
Amen.
And God says we gotta fast to change this. This is the kind of stuff we need to fast for.
Amen.
Not fast so I get a house, so I get a car. You can get a car and a house if you undo the heavy burden.
Amen. Amen.
7th verse. Is it not to deal thy bread to the hungry? This is what we need to be fasting for. So that the folk that are hungry can get some food. And that thou bring the poor that are cast out to the house. We want to fast that these homeless people find shelter.
Amen.
When thou seest the naked, that thou cover him. Folk don't have sufficient clothes. It's cold out there. Everybody don't have coats. And that thou hide not thyself from thine own flesh. In other words, fast that people stop ignoring other people. Stop acting like other people don't exist. You see that person hungry and naked and going through and dealing with it, and you just close your eyes like, I don't see it. I don't see it. 8th verse. Then shall thy light break forth as the morning. He said, if you fast for the right reason, what'll happen?
Your light break forth this morning.
Then shall whose light? Your light.
Your light.
Then shall your light, thy light, break forth as the morning, and thine health shall spring forth speedily. You're going to get healthy. And thy righteousness shall go before thee. The glory of the Lord shall be thy reward.
Amen.
And y'all can read on. There's some more good stuff in there. But that's why we should be fasting and praying.
Amen.
That's a good reason to fast and pray. Then don't be fasting and praying, God, I'm just praying. I want to be strong. I want more spiritual strength. I want to be more holy. I want. That's not the purpose of fasting. You should be fasting for others.
Amen.
You should be fasting and praying and seeking God for others. God, I'm fasting and praying. Most of the time, I'm praying and fasting for the ministry. I'm praying for the ministry, the congregation, for other people.
Amen.
Or the things that would help us as a congregation and as a community to excel, to exceed, and so that God's kingdom can come to the earth.
Amen.
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 Thank God for you that came out. We appreciate you very, 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 very much.
Amen.
Today is the coldest day of the year so far. Nothing below zero. My toes is cold. But I wanted to be here.
Amen.
I wanted to be, and I'm glad I came.
Amen.
Amen. This is Dorothy drove the longest commute, but she's here.
Amen.
Thank God for her.